wife as we were about to crash the Mazda into a whole bunch of little orange traffic barrels. I had taken a wrong turn down an exit that I am not familiar with and cannot drive from memory. I am now careening, barely in control, through that favorite of Minnesota seasons, road construction. At night, in the rain, with 4 other people in the car. Long past the time my blind ass should have been driving. Stop! This is my wife again, right before I ran into a group of very fashionably dressed young women who had no idea that they were about to die on the bumper of a sensible car driven by a blind idiot. She called out the warning seconds before I ran into them and averted a tragedy. I did not stop driving that time. I kept driving. I drove us all the way to the eye clinic. At the clinic, things were not going well. I could tell that they were not going well by the way the nice optician was saying, "You're doing great. You're doing just fine. You're doing great." I was not doing great. And in fact, I could tell that things were worse than I thought. You learn little tricks to do things when you're going blind, but when you are faced with diagnostics and tests, well, you can't hide anymore. But I didn't want to admit my disability. We're sitting in the room. I'm talking to my wife about, hey, maybe we should get a second car. You know, both of us need to drive around someplace. And when the doctor was done and he said, "Do you have any questions?" I didn't want to ask him anything. But my look on my beloved's face and, well, the fact that she's sitting there going, so I looked at the doctor and I said, "So how much longer can I drive?" And he got this horrified look on his face. And he looked at me and he said, "I think it is very important that you're not." And that was the end of it. I handed my wife the keys and she drove me home. On the way home, to see how much I was really seeing anymore, she said, "Read me that street sign, the large street sign. The kind of street sign that is above your head, great big green huge letters, right? You know what I'm talking about here." And I stick my head out the window of the car and I watch it go by. And as it goes right over us, I say, "Duluth Street?" I wasn't entirely sure. So yeah, it was public transportation and my butt in the passenger seat from that moment forward. The state of Minnesota sent me a very polite letter that revoked my license. It all kind of sucked, but I had to make the adjustment. I refused to be one of those disabled people who shut themselves away, locked themselves in the world, disengaged. And any time I got upset or frustrated with a very long bus ride, I would just remind myself of this really terrifying encounter that I had in the local grocery store. So I'm walking through the parking lot and I'm trailing behind this little sweet woman. She's about this tall. She's somebody's grandmother or possibly great-grandmother, I don't know. She had gotten out of a Buick, one of those big cars that's actually the size of a small boat. And I followed her into the store, and she gets just inside the door, and she walks up to another cute little old lady, and she stops, and she gets right up into the woman's face, and she says, "Lois, is that you?" It was hard making the adjustment, but I had to do it. And really, it was kind of a relief when I handed in the keys. I wasn't trying to drive on roads by memory or by following taillights. I wasn't terrified for myself and my passengers and the other general public out there. I wasn't going to kill somebody because I was too proud and too stupid to do the right thing. In the end, all I really lost was the fear of the encroaching darkness that I know was coming for me. And that fear, well, that's not too much to have lost, is it?